I think what's really great about creative industries and the arts is there's so many avenues to create and be creative that you just need to start doing something. And doing something that feeds you will be something that will become that thing. So I'm from the south side of Chicago. I'm a native. I grew up in what they call Auburn Gresham neighborhood. I would say I came from very humble beginnings. My family was large, but in our immediate, I had 2 older siblings and had always had an affinity to creating, and imagining. I was the weird one because I would always talk to my own imaginary friends or create my own worlds or have tons of scribbling paper ever since that my mom can remember, and probably around the age of 5. And so I've always had a affinity or passion for the arts. And so we then later on moved to the Chatham area eventually, and I attended a very arts focused or culturally focused school called Dixon Elementary, and that's really where the foundation of my interest in the arts or art peaked, because I had an excellent art teacher. Her name was Miss Jackson. She introduced me to the really formalized way of creating, in a processed way, learning how to create structures and heads and eyes and all the shading, the techniques of art and illustration. And so, I think foundationally for me, I would say I am grateful for my mom, who allowed me that freedom and space to be imaginative and to be creative early on. And then other people that were added to my life that also fostered that interest, like my art teacher or my music teacher, or even the principals at the school Dixon that I went to, that kind of encouraged the exploration of the arts, where they were art collectors, so it was art all over our schools, and we had annual art showcases. So it was just a great environment in both spaces, at home for that freedom to be me, and then also in structures or institutions like schools where I could also foster my interests, which I hope I answered the question. Okay. That's a great question. I believe an artist is someone who has a specific discipline that they practice, whether it's music, visual arts, dance, but someone that has a thing that they continuously hone in on and improve on and practice and get better at, and has a genuine connection to and passion for evolving in that. Remembering myself, basically, in a nutshell. I've spent a good while making sure I knew who Rachel was and is, and that helps me to alleviate any comparison, because once I recognize that that's what they're doing, they're in their lane, it helps me to remember and stay focused to remain in mine. And so that involves me remembering my truths, remembering my heart, remembering my passion, and those things help connect me to what I'm creating in the art world. Give yourself grace, number one. I think oftentimes we get so, adhered to a plan, we really want what we've laid out, or when we goal set, or whenever we have this idea and we want to get there, and then life happens and things shift, we get uncomfortable with the shifts. And so one thing would be to give yourself grace, and also that means accepting when things shift or when there's a pivot that needs to be made, think we constantly are in this space of moving, yes, but then there's some times where that movement might be progressive, sometimes it might be regressive, sometimes we have to pause a bit. So number one would be like giving yourself grace and accepting what is and not forcing stuff. Also sitting with your intention and making sure that's clear first, because that is what and how will remain steadfast, or at least I have. Like, if I remember what my intent is, I'm not so defeated if I have to be rerouted or if things shift a bit. I remember that that's my intention or my purpose, and no matter what the obstacle or the challenge that might present itself, I know that ultimately I will get there. So it's really like I have accepted whatever might come on that path, but also ultimately knowing where I need to end up. I think the number one hurdle would be to, it always goes back to meet yourself. Like, remember, try to, as best as you can, learn who you are before life puts their veils on you, or people put their, like, and I call veils these things that people put on you. Like, you are not, someone has told you what you shouldn't wear or what you couldn't say or how you couldn't say it. And so really doing the work to understand, like, innately and naturally who you are at your core, and so that you're not searching outwardly for any confirmation, affirmation, because I think that is what debilitates or prohibits artists to freely create, because you're always thinking about how will I be received. Like we talked about, there it is an act that does prompt a response, and so when you care so much about what that response is, it usually comes from a place of, lower self-esteem or lacking confidence, and it's because you're not comfortable with who you are, because you don't know that person. And so I would say that my advice would spend time with yourself, get to know you. That really should be the charge and the impetus to what you create, like, and how you create is it's an emotive act. Art is an emotional act, and we are doing so freely, but we're expressing it. And you can't really freely express anything when it's not coming from you authentically. So that would be my number one thing. And then for any teens, explore. Yeah, I would say just do it. Just do as many different forms. I think what's really great about creative industries and the arts is there's so many avenues to create and be creative, that you just need to start doing something. And doing something that feeds you will be something that will become that thing. And like for me, as a teen, growing up, like, I've done many forms of art. I've danced, I was in visual arts, I took up photography in college, I did animation, I tried a bunch of stuff. And I think ultimately that, starting young and doing that will help you do that in the future, like in your adulthood, to continuously explore and like be open to try new things. Maybe I can do motion graphics, or maybe I will become someone that plays around with murals or spray painting. Whatever you want to do that allows you to like still remain true to you and be expressive and is something that feeds you, I would say. And then you hold on to that. Hold on to what's feeding you. I'm scared.
Okay, so this is the round where we're going to change it up really quick, and we're going to do 3 words that I want you to define. Okay? So the first one, what is power?
Power to me is, that's a good one. Because it's hard for me to not place it with another word. So immediately I would think that it's standing strong in something, or strength is what I think about when I hear power. Ability to withstand. That's my definition of power.
Love that. Okay, so the second word, what is creativity?
Creativity is taking one's truth and creating or making something that is tangible, or creating something that can be received. It's taking what truth you have inside of you and letting it out.
What is authenticity?
It is your most, I was about to say, your most authentic self. Authenticity is your truest self. It is the person that you are, again, before all of these preconceived notions of about what people think or who people think you should be. Before you get all that, and when I say truest self, I often have like these conversations with my friends about, well, what does that mean? Like, who knows their truest self? But I really think that deep down inside we all do. It's just like these subtle cues of when we're stepping outside of our truest self, where it's like, no, don't say that, people are gonna think you're goofy, or don't laugh that loud, people are gonna think you're crazy. It's like, that's you, the person that's stopping you from being you.
That was so good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is great.